Hello everybody and welcome back to my China versus Ethiopia series, or should I say versus Poland. This segment's actually going to be a bit different because after I had recorded it, I found that the microphone wasn't being recorded at all. And in its place, there were a couple spots where there was like a loud screeching noise. So I've done my best to clip it up so that the screeches aren't there and that we'll be able to narrate. The only problem here is, uh, obviously I won't be in control as I'm, doing it. Here I chose Coastal Raider on the boat just because I knew that we were going to be capturing the capital with the boat, probably, or if not, like at least doing some damage. Here, just like I had suspected, we were able to occupy the back tiles of his city, and that was really good because you can see the swordsman there. He's not going to be able to travel through the city onto those tiles. He could attack through it, but that would mean the archer would have to move, and the AI seems to like doing that. Here we just move all the melee out of the way, get the archers into position, acting on the units first. Obviously my scouty type could have fired onto the city, but one shot just pretty much gets healed up. So we don't want to do that until we can put multiple shots in, and it is more important to whittle down the army first. Here the hill was available, so we got onto that. We just kept everybody in place on the cities where we were able to. Didn't want to forget to move the worker in there. Luckily I saw that. Here we're moving into the deer tile just because borders are about to grow. Here finishing up the farm, obviously. So yeah, in the capital, Warsaw, we basically moved our swordsmen out of the way just because if they remain on the border they can be seen, and we wanted to make room for the healthy pikemen to squeeze through. Thought it was really interesting that Poland sought peace, and then here he puts his swordsmen in the water. They can attack from the water. I actually had found that out in a different game semi-recently. I didn't even know that, but being swordsmen, here we just move the tile because the deer tile is the exact same, but it's going to be developed first. Unfortunately, a camp spawns right in our backyard, so we got to give up a couple of military caste garrisons. But anyways, the fact that the swordsman's in the water means that he's very weak. So here we have to put, because it's just 2 shots and he's just dead, so obviously we kind of have to do that. Move the worker in, approaching the horseman, but mostly it's about clearing up that space in the background because here I moved the scouty archer. I think I could shoot over, but I couldn't because of the trees on the hill between us where the bananas are. That frees up the other hill though. Everybody's healing in. The healthy guys are moving in. I kept that guy. Oh wait, no, did I change my mind here? See, this is the problem with narrating as I watch it, because I can't actually explain my thought process in the moment. I guess I had decided that he was too weak to stay in the borders. Don't know if that's true or not, but it was interesting to see that he had a pikeman just chilling out in the background there. He probably could have put up more of a fight and did not. He's just healing everybody up. I think we ended that turn on the hill, though. Maybe his borders grew. Oh, no, it looks like his borders grew and just encompassed the hill. I don't think we actually ended up. Here are the workers. I had counted it out, and I had decided this arrangement was better. Because that means the one for the worker in Shanghai's end is the one that's doing the last tile. It could have gone either way. I don't think I had to do it. That was like some pretty petty min-maxing there. My thought process was that Shanghai was fairly developed, although looking back over the footage, I think it would have been better to send that worker, after finishing the road, off to Beijing to start getting some river farms up. Okay, so he actually has a unique luxury we don't have access to, but because he's Attila, he won't trade straight up. The horses in the open borders are an add-on, so I just took those off. And 3 gold in addition is pretty steep, but we are doing okay on the gold, and obviously the happiness is going to be the most important thing. And it establishes relations because we're trading with them and stuff. So I forget what all those three city-states were offering. I don't think any of it was particularly useful or anything like that. Here we sell off the horse at a discount because that's just all the money he had. Here I think it was a bit of a mistake. I should have gone with horsemen, but I was thinking of the fact that we were about to take over a new city, universities, so I wanted to get some infrastructure going in the background. The capital, though, is doing pretty decent production-wise. Here, because it's a scouting type, he's able to back up, lets the spearmen in, or the pikemen. Now, here's another example of pushing into the tile. We couldn't kill the horse, but I didn't want to push into the tile, so I just attacked with the full health one because it's a huge damage to him with very little loss to us. But that way I didn't push in the tile because we couldn't see beyond the horse, so there was just no way of knowing what was there. I didn't think it was very safe maneuver. I didn't want to take the risk at that time. Here we got our eyeballs on the camp within our borders just because whatever it was, we risked him being able to come in and pillage the tile, so that way we have the swordsman kind of like... because the swordsman versus a pikeman is kind of an uphill battle, but we got the archer coming in from behind. Nevertheless, we can defend on the developed tile in our borders to prevent. Okay, so the worker is just pretty much going to pre-build the road here. He's close to the chest here just in case we decide to pillage the iron and repair it, so we just want him handy. Yep, here we finish the road. They both can step and finish a road, and this means the one in Addis Ababa is free to go on doing other stuff first, whereas the other, if I had kept them on track the way they were, it would have been the one in Shanghai. And I do think freeing up the Shanghai one first would have been better. Here we just send it off to the city-state that's given us the best exchange rate. I didn't bother looking into it because trading with other civs right now is not a good idea. I don't think Ethiopia would benefit. In fact, I think we'd be benefiting him. And of course, everybody else we're either at war with or going to go to war. So here we start getting the capital back into growth, and this is part of the reason why I think it would be better to have a worker developing the other river farm tiles. It's going to be huge growth right now, and we're just going to be sinking all those people into specialist slots. We do want the capital to grow, but obviously we're doing this balancing act with happiness because we're going to be taking a bunch of cities. For that reason, I don't think it was a correct move to have Addis Ababa be building military at all. It has a circus and a coliseum and a courthouse to build. So, but we do have multiple military units in that city, so now we're free to send the horse over to towards the war effort. For this reason, I think in the last segment when we were planning on buying a horseman, it might have been better to shift everybody in such a way that we bought the horseman in Guangzhou so that when the horse was free to join the war effort, he'd be a lot closer. Here it turned out not to matter, but still best practices, because that's one of the benefits of buying a unit is you literally get to launch it from whatever city you want, so that's something to think about. Alright, here we're back to the war effort. Obviously the great general's in such a way that he's buffing all of our archers, which is not critical but definitely helpful, especially being Chinese great generals. And here we can see the folly of pushing into the tile. We didn't do it last turn, but the fact that we're doing it this turn is a little better because we're better prepared to kind of back it up. But nevertheless, that pikeman's out there. He can get bombarded. He can get archered. I think I don't know if that archer can actually see him or not. That would be an interesting test. I'm guessing not, actually. So here we get an idea of what Krakow looks like, and that's why I think after taking over the capital, pushing forward into Krakow, not with the intent of capturing it, but like further damaging his army, because he's looking a little strong back there. I'm not sure why he's, you know, boning up on Krakow instead of trying to stop our assault on Warsaw, but with all the rough around Warsaw, I'm pretty grateful that we had a little bit easier of a push in than probably should have. Okay, and the great writer is born. Because we are kind of behind on social policies, and some of the later honor ones would be pretty helpful. We just go for the culture bomb here. Moving the units around, we got two cities that are unmanned as far as military cast goes because of the barbarian camp showing up, so we're moving a couple units in place to kind of backfill those. We get everybody the rough buff just because that's favorable. There's no penalty. Here it's actually kind of tempting because once you get the option for third rank, some more options open up. But I think if you go full in on the flatland or the rough, that's when you start getting options like march, which is pretty critical, especially for melee that are going into siege. That's actually the reason why I don't typically take cover, but I've been thinking about that on my own time. So you guys let me know what you think about the cover buff, just because if you are going to be dominating, obviously you're going to be taking a lot of bombards. I can totally see it being worth it, but like I said, the reason historically I typically don't go for it is because once you get the third rank of whatever you start off with, that's when I think March becomes an option. I don't know, it's been a while since I've done anything heavy military. Here you can see I make arrangements so that my dangling pikeman can get out of there. Still got a full health one, but he's in the rough, so if he does get attacked, it's that much better off. And with bombing the culture from the writer, we actually have the culture to choose a policy right now. I should have done that before all my shots this turn, obviously, just because part of that policy is increased great general point acquisition. So if we had chosen the policy before taking all those shots, we would have gotten some more great general points. On the other hand, we already kind of have too many great generals, or are about to, because you get one from the policy. We already had the one from picking on Kuala Lumpur, and from the warring we've done, we're about to spit out another one. So that gives us 3, and realistically, we only need 2 on the home front. I did look off camera. There's no place that I would think of that's setting a I forget the tile improvement they do that grabs all the land around them, but I didn't see anything worth taking anywhere. So yeah, it's nice to have one into the home fence, but you also got to keep in mind that the unit limit that there is in the game, you don't want to have more great generals than you need. So it might actually be okay that we chose the policy after all of our shots, but I thought I'd mention it just because, you know, if you're playing your own games, if it's a turn you're going to get that policy, by all means take it first so that you can enjoy the extra free great general points moving forward. I hope that all makes sense. Boat's all healed up, so it's time to start heading to the city. It's nice timing too, because it's looking like next turn the city might fall. Unfortunately, he puts his horse into the water. It's not all bad. We won't capture the city this turn, but it does mean the horse is basically going to be given to us for free. Here, I think I had a little bit of a conundrum thinking about whether or not to use the boat to weaken him. It's a decent exchange rate. It's just if we're going to use the boat to capture, it might be healthy. There's no other units around, though, that we can see, so I think I ended up doing it. But here that pikeman's really damaged, so we pillage and we start to retreat just in case we got to get out of bombard range. Again, I forgot that I couldn't reach that tile down there from that position, but we can still reach the city, so the fact that the scout archer traded places with him is not a problem. Here I decided this guy is healed up enough to start marching them in. Some of our pikemen are starting to get a little beaten up, so I figured the reinforcements might be useful. I don't know if this was a good idea, but since the capital's about to fall anyways, it turned out not to be a problem. Nevertheless, so yeah, here we actually addressed the horse, and I think I did push the boat, or attack with the boat first. I didn't push him in. There's no need to push him in. And by doing that, we make it to where only one archer is needed to kill it. And there's our free great general. So now, like I said, we have kind of too many great generals, but it's fine because as we start rampaging across the countryside, we are going to have to keep some defenses up within our homelands. And they're going to have to be mobile as well, so having a great general for the homeland that can, like, shift around. I think I sent that one off towards Nanjing just because there was a barb camp there, but I knew that it probably wouldn't get there in time to make any real difference. And there we go. We've got the missing military caste people into place, so happiness is up and our culture per turn is back up. It was unfortunate knowing that we were going to go for a culture bomb that we had to give up. Here I decided for the time being civil service, yeah, it probably would be better to have farms there. We're kind of at a point where our workers are running out of stuff to do, but at the same time we're about to start doing some long range warring. So when we go to tackle Krakow, again, not for the city itself, but for the military, we'll probably pick up a worker there, and that'll be pretty handy moving forward, because we still got these roads, obviously, and some roads inside the border that we'll need to tear up that we don't want to be paying for to connect that city to foreign cities. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. You get the idea, though. When you're doing a lot of warring, it's good to have some workers and stuff. So, alright, so we're about to have some people die, but that's okay because we're also going to be taking over the city. So here, it's just a matter of, obviously dispensing our upgrades so that we can do the most damage. We got to move our great general into position so that, it looks like that was probably one of the screech points. I had to kind of clip it out. Yeah, we'll just move the great general so that all of our units are influenced by it, so we're doing the most damage. And that ends up making it to where the boat alone can in fact take it. So there we go. It is now ours. We create puppet, of course, because we don't have any reason. We already have a religion we like that we can dispense, so there's no reason to ever annex that city, I don't think. It is nice that his religion gets culture from the jungles, so that's more culture stacking. I didn't bother to look at what it was before that acquisition, but nevertheless. So now all the people that were within Warsaw's borders can actually start having expedited healing. So I started moving my swordsmen over so that maybe they can heal up a little bit more, or at least protect the dying pikemen. Because like I said, we're not done with Poland. We need to push forward on our way to Krakow. Yep, we got some 2 tiles worth of horses that are within Warsaw. I was surprised to find that. It looked like the other one kind of belonged to Krakow, but it's kind of nice because we were selling off our horses at a time when we were actually trying to use a little bit. Horsemen on a civ that doesn't specialize in them always kind of gives me a hard time trying to plan ahead, because the upgrade path of spearmen eventually is mounted. So I don't particularly like having too much of the 2 types of units combined. But at the same time, if we're going to be dominating everybody, we're going to need mobile units. So for the time being, the horsemen are not bad. It's just one of those things where it would be a lot nicer if we could upgrade them to knights. And right now, our research is going towards workshops and then universities. So we do continue to build horsemen. Ideally, I think having about 4 would be good. It'll all depend on how much land we have and what our unit limit is. So that's something we'll kind of keep revisiting. Like I said, because of the workshops and the universities, the Empire is probably going to start focusing more on infrastructure for a little bit. That way we can push into the later techs. Because by the time this is all over, we will have... I think it's machinery that gives us the Chukanus, so it'll just be a matter of upgrading our units and then pushing on. Here we're just addressing all the units we need to heal up, and yeah, the duplicate, trying to figure out who to send where. It's actually going to be a little while before we can upgrade our swordsmen, so for the time being the pikemen are the superior units. I think I failed to take that into consideration when I sent that pikeman more towards the center of the city. I think having one more down south would have been okay. It would just take him forever to get there, so I think that's why I forewent it. Here, the guy's done building the camp, so let's go ahead and buy the marble tile. It was cheap, and obviously that's a unique luxury for us at this point. So it is definitely worth investing into, because the happiness is so hard to tell, right? Because we want to keep growing and we want to keep taking cities. So happiness is going to be one of those things we're going to be teetering back and forth from looking like we have endless supplies to being like all tapped out. So I do want to keep addressing that. And then, of course, because we have a couple of ally city-states, you could say that 8 of that happiness is borrowed. As long as our money continues to do well, we probably will be able to float that, but you know, it's random, the quests they offer and everything like that. Here I have this worker come to the forefront to rip up that tile to save a little bit of money. Also, we do have the more roads down to the south, as well as developed horse tiles, so because we are pushing into Krakow, and right now we're kind of in more of a heal up stage for a good amount of our units. He probably will come into our land and pillage, was my line of thought. So getting that one worker to the front. And this will be another good reason why taking a worker from Krakow would be useful, because we're going to have some repairing to do in Warsaw while also building the roads back to our empire. Now the roads are long. It's going to be we are going to be operating at a loss there, but it's also about happiness and mobility as far as getting our units out of here, as well as being able to address any flare-ups in the future. Because unlike Ethiopia, Poland was actually doing somewhat okay before we intervened. So he has a more established network as far as pushing back. I'm not worried about Ethiopia. I don't ever think he's going to be a factor for the rest of the game, simply because by the time he could get around to actually posing a threat, we'll probably be like blowing the world away in science because of all of our conquests. And I don't know, it's one of those hard things, like, because we're trying to play a military game, going for science now means we can't be going for military now, so it's only going to be a short period of time before we start butting up against people who are advanced. But obviously, being China, it was worth going for the Chukanus. So once we get the honor code, or yeah, whatever that policy is that gives the expedited XP, we'll get them all practiced up, and there'll be some real badasses. We'll get range on them with double clicks. It'd be nice. Alright, so here we're going to revert to the infrastructure. In this city we want a granary. We got the deer. We got a lot of tiles to work. It was a late settle, comparatively speaking. And, you know, we are working towards specialist slots that are worth working. Not so much the workshop, but if we do need to, like, kind of throttle growth in a city, getting some great engineer points while we do is obviously pretty decent thing to go with that. So camp's all cleared out. We're just going to get our people pulled back, heal them up, get the military cast going. Here I actually choose Aqueduct in the capital. I don't think it's a bad decision, but it might be a premature one, since all we've got is those grasslands river farms to grow into. It's just not going to be soon enough. So I think at the start of the next part I might kill that particular project. I don't know, I'll have to revisit that again. Right now I'm just trying to narrate what actually did happen. But we're towards the end of the segment, so not much longer, I don't think. Yep, just checking everything out. Looked good, so we passed. And there we go. There's our first pillage. And that's perfectly fine, because him exposing himself like that is beneficial to us. Here it was more about moving the composite bowmen are fine at the moment. Once Krakow's dealt with, we will have time to be healing up and paying to upgrade our guys. So for now it's just about dishing out the most damage. Obviously we can focus fire this guy and then he's just dead, and we can do it with our archers, which means our damaged melee have the opportunity to heal up. Here, I think I deliberately dangle the worker, because we don't actually mind if he gets captured, because that invites his units in, and then we capture it back on the counterattack. But because that pikeman's fully healed, I may have moved him back in, I don't remember. Guess we'll have to see together. Okay, it was kind of risky dangling them out like that, not knowing what Lodge had available to us, but in earlier turns it looked like Lodge was pretty impotent. It's Krakow we got to worry about. And I don't think I drew attention to the fact that we did move a melee into Warsaw for the purpose of military cast. The fact that the boat took it over, that's not good enough. The boat doesn't meet the criteria, I don't think. I'd have to double check on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. Here I decided to bring this worker in to help that worker. They're just going to kind of like move more towards the center of all the rough. But we do have a worker in Warsaw, and we might be picking one up in Krakow, so might revert that decision. I don't know. We'll have to see how that goes. But Guangzhou is pretty developed at the time. It's actually a very troubling city for me because we have those lumber mills for if we need to throttle growth, and then we also have river, or I should say freshwater, because with Lake Victoria it's not all about rivers. But we have some freshwater farms, but they're grasslands, so they're pure growth, which is nice if you want the growth. But if you're not getting any production out of a tile, you know that it almost defeats the purpose of having the citizen. Obviously, that's not entirely accurate because it does contribute to science and growth, which is future science. So it's not like they're bad tiles. It's just as a min-maxer, I have a hard time kind of deciding how to do those things. Here I think I switch up my roster to get the melee more towards the extremities and allow the archers to be floaters. I think I failed to upgrade any of them. There was so much going on in Warsaw, and this is part of the reason why I do the half-hour segments, because I kind of lose sight of stuff like that. Like this was the turn. Yeah, it's okay to like be thinking about where you want to have everybody positioned, but while he's moving, he's got some mobility left. I could upgrade him. In fact, I think it was right when I moved him that I realized, oh crap, I could have upgraded him. There was no reason to move him that far, so there was no reason not to. And it matters because, you know, the upgrade adds to our military score, and that might alter the decisions of the people around us a turn sooner. I don't know. This is probably not a big deal, but try to min-max to the fullest extent. And if I'm not mistaken, right around here was the time when my computer started making it clear that something was going wrong. So I decided to sign off here, even though it wasn't the end of the turn. And then, of course, like I explained up front, once I got my hands on the finished file, the audio from the microphone was mostly gone, with just a couple of really loud screechy blips. So thank you for joining me in this segment. It's nice that the war with Poland is mostly over. We got Warsaw. I hope you guys are enjoying it. I'm having fun making it. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.